Dear students, in the last video we were discussing the characteristic features of living organisms. So some of the characters like metabolism and growth as well as reproduction we have studied. In reproduction there are two types of reproductions that we come across. One is asexual type of reproduction and second one is sexual type of reproduction. Right? So one asexual type of reproduction. I had mentioned different types of asexual reproductions and some of the examples are given in NCERT. Those examples I am going to say over here. So asexual type of reproduction, one is sporulation. Sporulation. What do you mean by sporulation? The process of formation of spores is called as sporulation, and these spores when fall on the soil, that moment they grow into new individuals. So that kind of sporulation is usually seen in fungi, the organisms like fungi, right? In the same way, second one, that is fragmentation. Fragmentation is another type of asexual reproduction in which the parent body is divisible into several pieces and each piece can grow into new individual. That is called as fragmentation, which is usually seen in fungi once again. Why? Because the hyphae of the fungi that breaks into several pieces and each piece can grow into new individual. Right? Fungi is best example, and filamentous algae is also example for this one. Filamentous algae is like Spirogyra, Elothrix. Their body breaks down into several pieces and those pieces which regenerate or regrow into new individuals. Right? Filamentous algae and protonema. Protonema of moss plants. Moss plants is also best example for this one. The body of protonema that breaks into several pieces and each piece can grow into new individual. And third one is regeneration. Is another type of asexual reproduction which is seen in planaria. Planaria is the best example for flatworms, right, whose body is divisible into two pieces. Transverse binary fission occurs there in those animals, right? So, and each piece of the body of this animal that grows into new individual. That is also one best example for regeneration over here, right? So, these are different types of asexual reproductions which are mentioned in NCERT. Apart from this one, some of the organisms, they do not reproduce themselves. And such kind of organisms, first one is here, some of the worker bees are the best examples for this one. Worker bees. So as you know, honeybees, there are three castes that we come across in honeybees. One is male, that is a drone called as, and female called as a queen, and the third one is sterile female. Sterile females known as worker bees, and these worker bees are unable to give birth to the young ones, right? And the second one is infertile human beings. Infertile human beings are those human beings, the one who is unable to give birth to the young ones, right? Infertile human beings. And apart from this one, third one is mule. Mule is a crossbreed of both horse as well as ass. It is called as mule, and this mule is sterile in nature and it is also not able to give birth to the young ones. Right? These are said to be as infertile organisms or sterile organisms. what it suggests is some of the organisms are unable to reproduce the young ones, right? Apart from this one, next characteristic feature is consciousness. And what is this consciousness? As you know, it is one of the technically most complicated feature of all the living organisms. And this means, conscious means, right? Every organism have the ability, to respond to the environmental stimuli or response to the surroundings is called as consciousness. Every organism has the ability to respond to the surroundings or response to environmental stimuli called as consciousness. So every organism, they have consciousness. Why? Because they respond to the stimulus. If anybody touched you, you sense that one, right? If anybody pinched with the help of pin to you, then you get your hand back, right? Such kind of many more number of examples we can give for that one, right? Touch me not plant is there, which is called as Mimosa pudica. Its scientific name is, and this plant, when you touch, it closes its leaflets, right? So like this, so consciousness is there with all the organisms, right? From simple primitive prokaryotes to most complex eukaryotic organisms, all the organisms can respond themselves to the environmental stimuli, right? So prokaryotes to eukaryotes all can respond to environmental stimuli, right? So these organisms, they respond with the help of what? Sense organs. So as you know, higher animals, all of themselves have sense organs, right? Even lower organisms also have sense organs. Compoundize are sense organs in cockroach, right? So antenna are the sense organs. In the same way, so different sense organs we have. Means in case of human being, 5 sense organs, a pair of eyes, a pair of ears, right? Skin, nose, tongue, these are all sense organs. With the help of these sense organs, we sense the environmental stimuli. If anybody made a noise, I can listen to it. If anybody passed before me, I can see them, right? And response to those situations, right? Such kind of response to stimulus is there with all the organisms. Okay, and when you consider the plants also respond to the environmental stimuli. The best examples for this one is phototropism, right? So phototropism is the best example that plants can respond to the environmental stimuli. What is phototropism? Photo means light, tropism means towards light. It means towards light. Plants can grow towards light. Is one kind of response shown by the plants, right? It's the best example for this one. And apart from this one, when you come to the human beings, human beings have awareness about themselves. Means Ourselves have awareness about ourselves, right? So that's why they are said to be as a self-consciousness they have. Self-consciousness it is called as. Self-consciousness it is called as. Right? So means human being have self-consciousness. Right? Apart from this one example we can take over here. What is that? One human being is there, the one who is in coma state. He is in coma state and his body is supported with some of the machines which can replace heart as well as lungs. Whether you consider the body of that human being as dead body or living body, whether that man has consciousness or not, the question arises here. It's very peculiar over here, right? So this is all about the consciousness, right? Next characteristic feature is respiration. As you know, non-living substances, they do not respire, but all the living organisms can respire except anaerobic organisms, right? Anaerobes, right? Anaerobic condition is because of the absence of air or oxygen. There also some of the organisms can exist themselves, right? That is a totally different concept. But respiration is one of the characteristic feature that defines so that man or that organism is living one. Apart from this one, some other characteristic features are also there. Very important one, adaptation. Every organism can adapt to the changed environmental conditions. They can adapt themselves. That kind of adaptability is there. Responsiveness is there. Right? Consciousness is there. Right? So, reproduction, all these are the very important features of living organisms. Right? Next topic is levels of biological organization. Levels of biological organization. There are different levels of biological organizations that you know, right? Before going to start with that one, some of the things are mentioned in NCERT. As you know, in higher classes, usually you will come to know all the living organisms are due to some of the interactions. Okay? So, for example, the properties of the tissues are not seen in their constituent cells, but they arise. They arise as a result of interaction among the constituent cells. Right? This is the most important fact we should remember. Right? The character of tissues are not seen in their constituent cells, but they arise as a result of interaction among the constituent cells. In the same way, if we consider the cellular organelles, the characteristic feature of cellular organelles may not be seen in their constituent molecules, but they arise as a result of the interaction among the constituent molecules, a cell or organelles are formed. What it suggests is the complexity of organization that goes on increasing over here. Here, the constituent molecules together form the cells, cells together form the tissues, tissues together form the organs, organs together form organ systems, and organ systems together form organism. This is how different levels of biological organizations that we see over here. See here, where molecules together form cells, cells together form tissues, and tissues together form organs, organs together form organ system, and organ system together form organism. More than this, organization is also there. Organisms together form population, populations together form communities, communities are present in ecosystem, and ultimately biosphere. So these are different levels of biological organization that we come across here. Ultimately, we come to know these organisms are nothing but they are self-replicating, evolving, right, and self-regulating, interacting systems. They are said to be as what? Organisms are said to be as self-replicating, evolving, self-regulating, interactive systems which respond to environmental stimuli. This is how the living organisms are said to be as, that is self-replicating, evolving, self-regulating, interactive systems. These organisms are which respond to the environmental stimuli, right? So this is about biological organization, and all these organisms which are living on this earth, as you know, they may be present, they may be past, they may be future organisms, right? All these organisms are interlinked among themselves by sharing the same DNA, but with varying degree. Means little bit changes are there in the genetic material of every species which lived on this earth, which are living on this earth, which will be living on this earth, right? So they are sharing the same genetical material, and they are interlinked among themselves, and little bit changes in the genetical material of all the organisms on this earth is usually seen over here, right? This is how different levels of biological organizations that we come across. Next one is diversity in living world. Yes, next topic is diversity in living world. What do you mean by diversity in living world? In the last class I had mentioned what is living world, right? All these things we have discussed, but once again we will see the same things, right? Diversity, biodiversity, as I had mentioned in the last class. What is biodiversity? It is variety and variability of life forms on this earth called as biodiversity. Means plenty number of varieties of living organisms are there around us. So at your home only you can see, around your home only you can see Potted plants are there, varieties of potted plants are there. And varieties of animals are there, insects are there, frogs are there, dogs. So every organism which is living around your home. Apart from this one, some of the microbes are also there around you. You cannot see them with your naked eyes, of course, but still they exist around you. Apart from this one, if you expanded the area, then new varieties of organisms you will come across in a large area around your village, right? So like that, when you increase the area, different varieties of living organisms that you come across there. Okay, so that way, all these living organisms together form the living world, and they are showing diversity. That is nothing but variety, right? Varieties of organisms that you will come across around universe, right? And so the known organisms to us are expected to be or range from 1.7 millions to 1.8 millions of organisms are known to us. They have been already identified. And they have been classified, and even they have been named. All those organisms have been identified, classified, and even they are given with one particular name, right? If you see some more new areas, right? Some more new areas, there are also new varieties of organisms are seen. If you go on searching for new organisms, then you will certainly get new organisms continuously, right? So that process is nowadays it is going on, means many of the biologists are searching for new organisms. Why? Because the 5 to 30 million varieties of organisms are expected to be existing on this earth, right? New varieties of organisms will have to search, okay? And so these 1.7 millions to 1.8 millions are known to us. They have been identified and named. Then how to name the organisms is the next topic over here. That is nomenclature. Nomenclature. What is this nomenclature? Nomenclature is nothing but it is the science of giving a name to an organism. It is an organism. It's the science of giving a name to an organism is called as nomenclature. As you know, usually in one area, so one organism is always named with one name, right? And that the same animal or the same plant which is there in another area or in different country, it is named with another name. It is named with another name. What happened here? Animal or the plant is single, but it has two names. In our country, in our region, one name is given. In other country, in other region, another name is given for the same animal. And such kind of names are said to be as vernacular names or common names they are called as. That way, nomenclature, it is of two types. One is vernacular name and second one is scientific name. First of all, we'll go through this vernacular name. which is also known as common name. Which is also known as common name. What is this common name? Already I have mentioned. So it is a common name means it is a name which is given locally. It's a local name which is given by one person. Right? When languages arise, that moment every animal, plant, right? All of themselves were named with one name in a local languages, right? And those names, they are different in different languages, right? And so in a local people called one animal with one name, which is very easy for them to pronounce and which is very easy for them to remember it. Okay, so that way these common names arise in local languages, right? But the same names are not at all used by the biologist. Common names are not used by biologists. Why they are not used by the biologist? So, because those names are unknown to many number of biologists of different areas or different countries. That's why they do not use these common names or common names, right? Because common name differs language to language, area to area. That way it differs. That's why common name is not at all used by the biologist. In the same way, so it is not used. Why? Because one name for one animal may give different meanings, right? So that is also a problem. That's why biologists, they do not use. And one animal or one plant, any one organism is called by different names in the same language, right? So these are all problems what are there for using these common names internationally or universally. That's why there is a need for scientific name. There is a need of a scientific name. Next one is scientific name. Scientific name is too essential for every organism to give one particular name, which becomes a common name or which becomes one particular name, so universally, right? Universally it must be same, right? That is the intention why scientists give every organism one particular name, and that name is called as scientific name. And scientific names are given on particular principles, right, or criteria based on one particular criteria. Scientific names are given over here. Scientific names are given based on one criteria or principle itself, right? And these scientific names are given by some of the International Code for Botanical Nomenclature, right? So these names are given by International Code for Botanical Nomenclature. It is for naming plants. It is for naming the plants. In the same way, ICZN, that is International Code for zoological nomenclature. So this gives names, right? This gives names for animals, naming animals, right? And apart from this one more is there. ICBAC, here we can write over here for naming bacteria as well as viruses are also, right? International code for bacterial nomenclature for naming bacteria, and ICVN, that is nothing but international code for viral nomenclature. International code for viral nomenclature for naming viruses. Right? So these are all giving names for particular plants, animals, bacteria as well as viruses. Right? So like that, naming of giving a name to one particular animal international, which is same, right? So it is given by all these ICBN, ICZN, ICBN, once again ICVN for different kinds of organisms. Okay, so this is all about nomenclature. This is about nomenclature, naming of the organisms. Okay.